I want to ask a couple questions because I don't think either party has really done a great job handling clemency, commutations, and pardons. But, and I don't want to turn this into partisan things, so, but I think of things like Mark Rich. You know, I mean, that is probably the poster child. He still owed $48 million in back taxes, but he donated $1 million to the Dems and received a pardon. Chelsea Manning commuted the remainder of Manning's sentence, and some said that was too dangerous. Chelsea Manning remained a danger. And the one that always blew my mind was when President Clinton granted clemency to the Puerto Rican terrorist called the Faln, F-A-L-N, if you remember that case. So those things really exist out there. But when we look at this, and we talk about the Informis case in particular, as kind of, because we want to see what's going on in a lot of ways. What happens, and I'm going to ask all of you this question, what happens when to the system of the president's authority when there is a retracing, if you will, by DOJ to come out back after somebody that has the, and these are unique facts, but everybody's got unique facts in criminal law. But what happens to the overall perspective of the public and for those who I mean, let's say you were in that group of FALN, you know, what, and let's say that George W. Bush said, okay, we're going to come after you. So I'm going to start with Mr. Ostergo, Mr. Berman, and Mr. Tolman. That what is the impact when they start looking back? DOJ starts looking back on these clemencies and say we're going to prosecute.
Yeah, it's damaging to both the process and to the people who hope for clemency. You look at the process was incredibly damaged by the Willie Horton story, if you remember that. Yeah. And, you know, that wasn't even a clemency, that was a furlough, I believe.
That's right.
And you know, when we had, I mean, the Mark Rich grant, when that came out, I was furious. And so were a lot of other people because it undermined the project of justice and mercy at the same time through a lack of humility. And, you know, but for the people that are involved too, the people who have petitioned, yeah, when they hear about someone re-prosecuted, if they do, that would be discouraging. Looking around at the 17,000 people who are waiting and waiting and waiting, that's what's most discouraging.
Thank you, Professor. Professor Berman.
Well, I would add, and thank you for the question, that it's discouraging for people who might think about applying, would-be applicants, if they have reason to be fearful, as I think many would. Boy, if I even manage to get my case in front of the president and get some kind of relief, DOJ might just come back after me. Why should I bother go through that hassle and process if I'm not going to get that repose? What really worries me, even thinking longer term, is now when plea bargains are being put together, are applicants going to say, I need to have every single possible count against me resolved? If anything's left lingering, boy, I won't even bother to seek clemency because then I might be subject to it. And I doubt that the problem of re-prosecution would end up growing so much because DOJ itself wouldn't want to do that work and have those problems. But I think the way this could reverberate through our entire justice system, it shouldn't be underestimated if it goes beyond just a single case and becomes a precedent where there's a perception every time there's a new president coming into office and a new DOJ that they should take a look back at the old cases to see if anything was not done just quite right.
Thanks, Professor. Mr. Tolman.
Yeah, the system is broken and both sides broke it. There's no question about that. I worked on clemencies for Ross Ulbricht and Jimmy Roseman, for example, both individuals that believed that they would get a clemency, deserving of a clemency for various and different reasons. Like Mr. Informis, everybody should have that availability to them, but now their questions that they have are, even if I get it, is DOJ coming at me? And that would only be a DOJ that believes they're a fourth branch of the government.
Yeah, to me, it's the Informis case, when it was brought to my attention, I thought, well, this is kind of prototypical of the real issue that we see here. How is the system where he got clemency? How is the system with DOJ now is looking back? And how do we fix this system? And so you've all provided some kind of guidance on that, and we'll explore that as we go forward. But I appreciate those answers. And I'm going to go now to recognize the gentleman.